All right, so I saw this story. Boston Children's Hospital is, I don't want to get into a fight with anybody, is if not the best hospital in the country for pediatric cancer, like one of the top ones. You know, it's dedicated to providing healthcare for children. Part of that healthcare for children is also healthcare for for trans kids and kids who are, you know, questioning their gender or dealing with gender issues. And apparently, I don't know if it started with libs of TikTok or that sandwich board dad who's going around trying to save kids. Remember the premise of this, right? The so-called premise of this. The premise is not that we want to make sure that trans folks are not normalized. That's not the premise of it. The premise is we need to protect the children. We need to protect the children. And what better way to protect children than essentially attacking a children's hospital where everybody there is working to provide health care for children? Matt Walsh, of course, who is making his money off of commodifying transphobia, weighed in. Here it is.
Today on the Matt Walsh Show, children's hospitals around the country are butchering, mutilating, and sterilizing their young patients. So according to Boston Children's Hospital, literally every toddler who has ever been born or will ever be born is trans. Now, if it seems like they're casting the widest imaginable net in order to catch the most children they can and put them all on a path to sterilization and butchery before they can even talk, well, that's because that's exactly what these monsters are doing. And they've done it up until this moment without much resistance from the public. But that has to end. We have to stop making it so easy on them. And that's why I'm in the very early stages of trying to organize a national coordinated effort to fight back against this evil. You know, it's really just a matter of where do we begin? Maybe we begin at Boston Children's Hospital.
Boston Children's Hospital says its staff is being threatened and harassed now after far-right activists on social media posted misinformation claiming they perform gender-affirming hysterectomy procedures on young girls. The hospital says it's not true. They do not perform those procedures for anyone under the age of 18. Boston Children's Hospital says it is proud, though, to be home to the first pediatric and adolescent transgender health program in the United States. The hospital, though, now is working with law enforcement to try to better protect its staff in the face of these lies.
I mean, he's calling for it. And look, this is, you know,
it's Tiller baby killer all over again.
I was just going to say, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. Bill O'Reilly made his millions on the backs of singling out specific doctors. One of them, a guy named Tiller in Kansas, was assassinated in the wake of Bill O'Reilly doing this stuff. That didn't in any way inhibit his career. It had to wait for him to be a subject of millions of dollars of potential lawsuits because of his sexual harassment. But this is what they're doing. This is the way that Matt Walsh makes his money. Protecting kids by essentially marshaling forces to threaten and issue death threats against people who work at a children's hospital.
With just hysterical smears of doctors mutilating kids, which, like, we all know what they're actually against is even like social transitions where you sort of accept kids' pronouns, but they know that they can't just come out against that, so they have to create these just hysterical fantasies and about, you know, mutilations and stuff like that, which, like the hospital said, that is an over 18 procedure.
Right. They do provide, what do you call it?
Puberty blockers?
Puberty blockers.
But that's like if a child has been socially transitioned for a long period of time and like with the consultation of health professionals.
Without a doubt. Like the idea is as if like, like parents are just like, this just came up yesterday and the kid just walks in.
Antifa got into my kid's head about something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's grotesque. And you see this, and this has real impact too on public policy. Florida now, Medicaid no longer providing hormonal treatment. You imagine you're on that treatment, you get cut off immediately? No titrating?
That's medical violence.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Sick, demented, and also lucrative.
And allowed on social media.
There you go.
Free speech utopia.
There it is. Got to allow them that free speech. But of course, I mean, can you imagine what would happen if somebody went on social media and started calling for like, Matt Walsh needs to be stopped.
Yeah, we need some public pressure on this guy.
Yep.
Hurting kids.
They would decrying the authoritarianism.
Legitimately hurting kids, but free speech.
All right, lastly, let's just play this Greg Gutfeld, and then we'll get out of here. This is just too good, too. Greg Gutfeld on Fox, on with Richard Fowler. This is, I wonder if he meant to say this. They're discussing the lack of certain demographics as Republican lawmakers in this country. And you'll recall that even before marriage equality became the law of the land, there were log cabin Republicans, gay Republicans, who I interviewed a bunch of them actually back in the day, who were like staying in the party because they thought like the party was coming around. There was recently a piece about, I think, like a Texas log cabin Republican.
The Texas Tribune, yeah, about that, yeah.
Who said, boy, it didn't work. We really blew it. We were drummed out of the party. That's where most of the libertarians are, supposedly, too, right, in Texas? Except for that's not really. Mm-hmm. Here's Greg Gutfeld explaining why gay and black people are not Republicans.
If you went up to a modern leftist and you said, my God, my groceries are too high and I can't go out and walk my dog at night, an identity obsessed progressive would say, well, now you know what it's like to be a minority. And then you go, wait, I'm black. And they go, well, now you're a white supremacist. Right? So it's like if you don't, it's true, Richard. If you are a black conservative, you are a white supremacist.
No, I mean, let me just say this, because Joey made this.
It's a fact. He said it to Larry Elder.
See, no, Joey made this argument. You made this argument about what minorities want and what minorities don't want. As a minority at the table, as a black gay man in America, I think it's very simple. We want a seat at the table. White men have a seat at the table.
You don't have one? You're sitting right here.
How many openly black gay legislators do we have? How many openly black gay members of Congress that we have?
I don't count them. You know what? There are not a lot of short guys in the NBA, and I don't count that either.
When it comes to
I don't watch basketball and go, where is Greg Gutfeld?
Policy making, you need to have people who have different lived experiences in the room to determine how policy works.
This is what's destroying education, too.
Now, hold on, pause it for a second. Let's break this down, because this is really the fundamental aspect of Greg Gutfeld's worldview. Fowler asks, where are the openly gay lawmakers? Where are the openly gay black lawmakers, for that matter? And Gutfeld says, well, where are the short people in basketball?
Yeah, that is a very telling metaphor, because for people who don't know, basketball incentivizes being tall, because you can grab the ball above the shorter people and shoot the ball above the shorter people and see the court better above the people that are shorter than you. So that's why short people you don't see in the NBA.
It's also so coded. It's like, of course he says the NBA talking about this,
well,
black
but
gay
but
guy.
but I mean, let's really dig into this, because the reason why tall people have an advantage in the game of basketball is because it is about putting a ball into a hoop that is taller than your average person. In fact, taller than all people.
Anybody.
And so you have a physical advantage What is the advantage that you have in terms of lawmaking in not being a black person or not being a gay person or being an open gay? Like, what is he saying here? Is he blaming the voters? Because I don't think so. I think he's saying you are unqualified to contribute to legislating, to essentially, having a say at the table if you are not like Greg Gutfeld.
Yeah. I also like how Gutfeld's like, I don't count them. It's like, you can't. You couldn't count to one.
Right, exactly.
I know you don't want to count them, and that's not your thing.
Yeah,
I'm not obsessed with that.
I don't see openly gay. I don't like openly gay, not openly gay, black, white. I don't see that. Well, there's a reason why you don't see it.
It
It's
ain't
just
there.
not there. It's not there. Go back and just let's listen to that part of the exchange right there.
The NBA, and I don't count that.
Before that. Need a better process for this, incidentally.
White men have a seat at the table.
You don't have one? You're sitting right here.
How many openly black gay legislators do we have? How many openly black gay members of Congress that we have?
I don't count them. And you know what? There are not a lot of short guys in the NBA, and I don't count that either. I don't watch basketball and go, where is Greg Gutfeld?
Policy making, you need to have people who have different lived experiences in the room to determine how policy works.
This is what's destroying education too. You got to fire the white teachers before you fire anybody else, because you got to make sure the quotas are right. This is actually poison.
But don't you see the difference between
Pause it. First off,
can you hear me? A lot of these politicians are saying you're saying.
First off, I don't know what that is. First off, that's a lie. There is no firing the white teachers before the black teachers.
They're talking about something in Minnesota Teachers Union guidelines that I'm not entirely sure about. I haven't followed up entirely on, but I would also just say, why are we firing any teachers? We should be expanding.
We have too many teachers. We have too many teachers.
Yeah, clearly.
But the idea of democracy is fundamentally, I mean, that's what he's saying, right? When he's saying like, I don't the basketball game and
look for myself.
Yep. I mean, I don't know what his other explanation is. He could be blaming the voters, or that we have something systemic that keeps, like, is that the thing? Like, the reason why we don't have short people in the NBA is because it only favors tall people. So maybe that's what he's saying.
Legislating only favors white straight people.
Or he's saying that maybe our system, maybe he's indicting our entire system as only favoring a very specific type of person.
Right.
That's possible.
It structurally incentivizes white straightness, just the same way basketball incentivizes tallness.
Yep.
Which would say something about the system, but.
Well, maybe he's coming around. We do have right now one openly black lawmaker. Mondaire Jones is the
black gay lawmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Openly gay black lawmaker. And I don't know that I think he's the first.
It's him and Richie Torres.
Oh, and Richie
Bronx.
Torres,
Yeah.
right. He was the first, and Torres the second, right. All right, couple IMs, and then we're out of here. Folks, I am heading on vacation, although I will be doing an interview for Friday. But this will be the last fun half I do until I'm back in a week. And hopefully Emma will be here on Monday. But if not, get ready for some gaming.